Hello guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another video and another race reaction for the 2022 season. And today, obviously, we're talking about this Spanish Grand Prix, literally fresh off the race, come upstairs straight away to record it. And I've got to be honest, for a Spanish Grand Prix, that was quite intense. Loads going on, loads of different strategies going on. It was absolutely insane. So we're going to get straight into it now. And yeah, well, I'm still not really over it, to be honest. It was quite crazy. So we'll start off at the front then, and Red Bull getting a lucky 1-2, and obviously I say lucky because Charles Leclerc DNF'd in the race, but I mean it wasn't all plain sailing for Max Verstappen at the start. He actually took the victory, but obviously the first few laps he had the mistake, went off in the gravel, exactly what Sainz did. A bit of a tailwind going into turn 4, and then obviously his DRS, a massive problem throughout the entire weekend, but it was really affecting him in the race, especially when he was trying to get past George Russell. Really struggled, and then as soon as Leclerc DNF'd, he managed to get past George. Well, he pitted, and then didn't really look back ever since. And obviously then the team order situation with Sergio Perez came into play, and that allowed Verstappen to basically take the victory after that. So yeah, a bit of an up and down race for Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez as well had a really good race. Really got a little bit lucky in qualifying, qualified P5. But yeah, I think he definitely could have won that race if it wasn't for Red Bull's team orders. And I know they're doing it because Max is the favourite and he's in the championship fight, but nevertheless, he didn't seem to be happy about it. But nevertheless, a great day for Red Bull and maximum points. Next up then is Mercedes, and they finally have sorted out their issues with the porpoising and the lack of pace they've been having all season. They finally seem to have sorted it out. It's still not perfect, but, I mean, considering where they were in, like, Saudi, for example, they definitely look a lot stronger. George Russell, though, I mean, what a race he had with, and the battle he had with Verstappen was absolutely insane. He finished in P3, another podium for George Russell, and continues that streak of finishing in the top 5 in every race this season so far. But yeah, just had an absolute fantastic battle with Verstappen. Obviously, again, he did get a bit fortunate when Verstappen didn't have the DRS, but nevertheless, that move that Verstappen made on the inside, and then he cut back around the outside, then he had the inside for turn 2, and then he sort of pushed Max wide through turn 3. Absolutely brilliant. That was probably move of the season so far for me, but absolutely crazy stuff for George Russell. Really proving that he is a talent, and I think everyone's known it for a while. But I mean, it was so good to see him have that sort of confidence, where this is the first time he's sort of been with the top guys, so it was great to see. So really fair play to George Russell. And Lewis Hamilton as well got very unlucky on lap 1. Was having a little bit of a scrap with Sainz, who didn't get a great start, and then through turn 4 Magnussen tried to go around the outside. Lewis was sort of drifting sort of wide, because that's sort of how that corner sort of ends up. Magnussen put himself in the wrong place, and then they touched. Magnussen had to pit, and also Hamilton had a puncture as well, and that completely ruined Hamilton's race. And then obviously he came on the radio asking just to retire and save the engine, and I don't think that's something that we've seen from Lewis very often. So yeah, bit of odd mentality there. He's normally a guy who never sort of quits, but nevertheless, he carried on and he got 5th place, which was going to be 4th, but Mercedes were having also cooling issues and overheating issues throughout the entire race as well, so he had to back right off at the end, and then obviously that allows Sainz to get back past literally on like lap 65. So it was such a shame, but nevertheless, a good weekend for Mercedes, and hopefully we've got another team in the championship fight. So next up, Ferrari, once again, just bad luck hitting their way after such a good start to the season. It's just going downhill again. So Carlos Sainz finished in 4th, like I said, but got a bad start. He ended up in 5th after lap 1, and then went off into the gravel with that tailwind at turn 4. He was the first guy to do it. And yeah, just once again, just really bad luck for Sainz. I put him down into about 10th or 11th place, I think. And then it was just sort of a comeback drive from there. I managed to keep it clean for the rest of the race. And it's still points for Ferrari, but definitely not what he needed, especially after Leclerc DNF'd. And speaking of Leclerc, let's talk about him now. Yeah, he got a fantastic start, did everything right on lap 1, stayed ahead of Verstappen, and then was pulling out a gap. Obviously, Verstappen had that problem, and then he had like a good 16-second lead or something like that. It was looking all plain sailing for him. and then had a loss of power and had to DNF. And it was such a shame because that was Leclerc's chance to really gain some confidence again. And yeah, I mean, it's a massive, massive shame, but never know. Hopefully in Monaco he can pull it back if he doesn't crash. But I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. But nevertheless, yeah, miserable weekend for Ferrari once again. You know, like I said, Sainz got 4th, but could have been a lot more. And once again, we're going to be talking about Alfa Romeo this early in the race reaction. Valtteri Bottas, once again, this man is unstoppable. P6 for Valtteri Bottas, and just had a fantastic Grand Prix again. You couldn't fault him. At one point, he was running in a podium position, obviously after all the guys had pitted and stuff, but he's just having a fantastic time in that Alfa Romeo. You can't really fault the guy, to be honest. So really, really good job from Valtteri Bottas. And Guan Yu Zhou, once again, getting bad luck, had to DNF throughout the Grand Prix, and yeah, unfortunately no points for Guan Yu Zhou, but nevertheless another great weekend for Bottas, and I think Alfa Romeo will be very happy. Now, next up is Alpine. Now, they had a bit of an up and down weekend, obviously with Fernando Alonso being out in Q1, not really having the pace, but he did have good pace in the race, and he managed to finish 9th. But Esteban Ocon as well was really making some moves in the first stint. He was up until like P7, really flying through the field, but he ended up in 7th in the end. But yeah, no, Alpine, I think if they had a bit of a better qualifying, they could have been best of the rest, I think, because they looked really good. Maybe would have possibly been able to finish ahead of Bottas, but wasn't meant to be. But nevertheless, a good solid points for Alpine. Next up is McLaren then, and once again they sort of had a bit of a quiet weekend, a bit of an up and down one. Lando Norris finishing in 8th. They did have a few slow stops throughout the race as well, but yeah, I mean, Norris was having a good few battles here and there, and still got points for the team, which is, you know, what McLaren want. And Daniel Ricciardo finishing in 12th place. So yeah, a bit of a miserable weekend for Ricciardo, and they were kind of nowhere again. Seems to happen with McLaren. The one weekend they look really strong, and then the next they just sort of fall away. So a bit of a shame, but nevertheless it's still points for McLaren at the end of the day. Another team that sort of seem to be in the shadows at the moment is Alphatower. They definitely don't seem like they were as strong as last year. But Yuki Tsunoda finishing in 10th, again had quite a few scraps throughout the field, and Pierre Gasly 13th. Yeah, I mean, Gasly's really fallen off this season, it seems, and Yuki has sort of been out qualifying and out racing him quite a lot this season, so bit of a surprise there. But nevertheless, like I said, they just seem to be one of these teams that are sort of in the shadows, don't really see or hear much about them, and the only time we really do see them is when they're in a sort of little scrap with someone, but it's never for like a big position at the moment. So yeah, a bit of a odd one for Alphatower, but nevertheless it's still a point for the team. Next up then, Aston Martin, Sebastian Vettel finishing in 11th and Lance Stroll in 15th. I think Stroll had an issue with, I can't remember who, well, I think it was a Williams, if I'm not mistaken, but he was basically trying to unlap himself, I think, and then got tagged, and that completely sort of ruined his race from there on in. And Sebastian Vettel, yeah, was running in the top 10 for majority of the race. Again, had a few scraps up and down the field, but unfortunately couldn't hold on to the point, and Yuki Tsunoda managed to get past him. So yeah, not a great day for Aston Martin. So we'll talk about Haas then, and like I mentioned, Magnussen having the issue with Hamilton on lap 1, had to pit, and then that sort of ruined his race. Didn't have the pace to come back through the field. There was no safety cars as well for the first time this season. So yeah, that kind of ruined Magnussen's race, and like I said, didn't have the pace to get up any sort of positions or into the points, unfortunately. So he finished in 17th. Mick Schumacher, so close to points once again, but unfortunately didn't have quite the pace to hold on at the end of the race, and yeah, got passed by Tsunoda, Vettel, Ricciardo and Gasly, I believe. So yeah, a bit of a shame, but 14th for Mick Schumacher. But I know it's coming. I feel like he's going to get it in Monaco. I feel like that's a good time for Mick to get some good points. And finally then, Williams, and they definitely didn't have any good pace at all the whole weekend, really. Even Albon really struggled, but Latifi actually finished ahead of Albon this weekend, finished in 16th and Albon in 18th. But yeah, like I said, once again, Williams just didn't really seem to have the pace. They are definitely the worst car, I would say, this year. But yeah, a bit of a shame for Albon, the red hair, not quite doing it this time. But nevertheless, you know, it's you've got to have a worse team, and Williams unfortunately are it at the moment. But hopefully that Latifi has got some more confidence now, finishing ahead of Albon this weekend. Hopefully we'll see Latifi up there a little bit more, because obviously, you know, Nick de Vries was in the Williams for practice this time around, and actually was faster than Latifi in practice, so that's a little bit embarrassing, but hopefully that's going to give him some confidence for the rest of the season, so we'll see. And there we go, guys. That has been the race reaction for the 2022 Spanish Grand Prix. And like I said, as Spanish Grand Prix goes, that was quite intense. It has to be said, you know, and I think it helped a little bit with some cars being out of position, and obviously, you know, Verstappen spinning and Sainz spinning and stuff. But, you know, it was a fantastic Grand Prix. And I think if Lewis was up there as well, if he didn't have the incident in turn 1, and obviously Sainz as well, it could have been a completely different race. So, but nevertheless, I think it was, like I said, as Spanish Grand Prix go, I think we can take that. We definitely take that. And it's definitely not the worst race of the season, I don't think. So yeah, it wasn't a dull moment, I don't think. It got a little bit dull maybe in the middle, when sort of everyone settled down with their pit stops and everything, but nevertheless, I mean, I really enjoyed it. So let me know what you guys think of the race. Please do give the video a thumbs up as well if you have enjoyed the video, and please do subscribe. We are now at 400 subscribers, so thank you all so much for your support. Obviously next big milestone is 500, and then that's halfway to 1,000. So like I said, my aim for this year is 1,000. It might be quite a long stretch, but you know, you guys have been amazing over the last year or so thank you so much. But like I said, if you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you all again in the next one for the next weekend, actually in Monaco. Take care.